Alright, welcome back to another tutorial. Today again with Chuksniky, and I know if you've been following, you'll notice that there's a difference between what we have here and what we always had on the channel. What I simply did was I increased the page length so as to fit the total space needed for a proper artwork. It needs to always look organized and orderly. Well, for now it will be looking a bit awkward because I did a complete guide thing here. I'll call it a guide thing, more like I just made, remember those your kindergarten notes? So I just made your kindergarten notes as the best way it can be done right now. So you have your guides watched. So there's the two guides, the middle guide and the bottom guide. The space, top, the middle, the bottom, and another space. So I just rearranged all of them so that they will all be clear. The reason why it's looking a bit awkward is because I have the, so let's just say height guides. So this is what it looks like. Very neat and okay. So let's bring the guides back. Also, let's bring our grids back. So without further ado, let's head on to what we're supposed to do today, the anomalies, the easy anomalies. Alright, so we're back with the easy anomalies. And the easy anomalies are the letter L, the letter R, the letter Q, the letter T, and the letter Z. Funny enough, the letter Q is literally you making the TikTok ByteDance logo. That is what the letter Q is, and I'll show you in some minutes time. So let's just head straight into the first one, the letter L. The letter L is a long box all the way from the top. It's an anomaly because it has a little bit of difference rather than the normal thing you ought to do. That's why it's called an anomaly, or rather that's why I call it an anomaly. So a diagonal circle, another circle drawn, and we're not seeing anything just because I did not turn on the stroke. Now why I call it an anomaly is because it doesn't go all the way from the beginning to the end like this, which is supposed to be 3 by 5. Rather, it goes from the beginning till the second square, sorry. And this is where you understand why it is an anomaly. It has, let's make it actually. When we make it, you see, I'll take away this out of it. I'll take away this. So you can see the shape. You can see the shape. It has that curve, and then it ends literally straight. Yep, now we've gotten it. So it just hangs, like it hangs. So this is why it's called an anomaly. It is short, and you can see it compared to other letters. You can see where it stops. You can see it just hangs and stops right there, like that's where it stops. The next one is the Q. Like I said, the Q is literally making the ByteDance logo, TikTok logo over again. I have a video about that and I'll put it up there. Let's just make the letter itself. So the Q is like making the letter P first and foremost, but you're not making the letter P on this side, you're making the letter P inverse, reflective, and it comes like this. Now remember that the last time we made the letter Q was the only letter that had that anomaly where it required it to go 4 by 5 rather than sit down in either 3 by 3 or 5 by 5. It's exactly the same thing here. It is the only letter that's still going to take you out into 4 by 5 rather than 3 by 5 again. This time you would need another set of circles, but the circles will start from this edge right here where this one stops, and you see the first diagonal circle. Am I correct? No, I'm not correct. So sorry. It's supposed to start right after here. Sorry, I was not correct. Everybody makes mistakes. And then another one will come all the way from here. See, I even have to look at my own guides to constantly remember exactly what I am doing. So from time to time you'll find yourself always thinking, is this correct? This looks like it's not so correct. Where's the guide? Let me look for my guides again and again and again and again. You definitely perfect it at some point in time. Sometimes you just easily get it, other times you won't. So how do you remember what the Q looks like? The Q, when you want to remember it, you just say ByteDance logo 1. Also, you remember the smaller circle stops with the end of the tip. Just remember that part and you're good to go. So the one last thing is, there is this box right here. This is what makes it the anomaly. The entirety of this whole thing, you can see every other thing we've drawn has either been 1 down, 1 up, or just completely 2 up, 2 down. This is the only guide that takes us 3 down just to get the 2 down. So we pick it all and we'll just the shape builder too. First, let's create the top, which is easy. We've created the top. There's a mistake here. That's a big mistake right there. Exactly. So sometimes you might not know how I know that there are mistakes. It's because I've been using this Adobe Illustrator for a long while now that I can easily spot it jumping out. So one of the ways to spot Adobe Illustrator to know when you're making mistakes is to jump into the wireframe mode. Wireframe modes, let me just reverse all the actions I just did. So you can see that in the wireframe mode, this wasn't touching. That's why whenever I shade this object, the shade will always come down to this point. So let me take it all back to normal where I was, and we'll exit the wireframe mode. So now if I highlight the whole thing and shade, you see it stops without entering here. It just stops. This whole thing was supposed to hang, like I said, the TikTok ByteDance logo was supposed to hang exactly halfway. That is how it was supposed to be, and this will be the only time we'll find a box that is hanging also halfway. You can see now that the letter Q is the only thing that makes us look like learners. Currently is the only thing that has made us look like learners. So there it is, the proper letter Q. So we spent a lot of time, 10 minutes already probably. We could squeeze another anomaly inside here. Let's do the R and the T. I won't rush it. I don't want to rush anyone. Now when you want to measure your space between the Q and the next letter, you'll be tempted to say, oh, let's start the R from here, which seems logical and correct, but it is not, because remember the last time that other Q we made, it's like this is always disregarded. It's there, but it's not always regarded as like it's useful. So it's like a small identification, but also a nonsense to an extent. So for the letter R, we have a first box, we have a second box. Now, just like this one, the arrow does a similar thing. So the arrow is just literally you drawing the L upside down, but without this extension. That's what the letter R is. So we'll draw a circle from here diagonally and a second one diagonally, and this time let's shade. Yeah, we got it right. So this, my friend, is the letter R. In its barest form. It just looks cute, just tiny. Oh, I made a little bit of mistake. Yeah, I made a little bit of mistake here, because that's not the meaning of the basic arrow. Basic arrow is actually upwards like this. So my bad. My bad. Yeah, now that is the basic arrow. I had to zoom out, look at it again, and realize, oh, that's not correct. That is not correct. We'll make the S, but the S is an extreme anomaly that requires. I think we'll do the S, the Z, and the E for the final blow. The letter T is us making the letter L, and then with that stem coming out, that tiny protrusion. For this letter, let's take out all the strokes. Alright, so now for the letter T, it's basically the letter L. Again, do everything we did to the letter L. A long rectangle, a short one that ends at the second point, and then another one also that ends at that same second point like this. So this, you can see, it already looks like a T, but the basic letter T is not a box like T. It's a T that has a slight curve to it. So to get that curve, we'll make the diagonal 1 and diagonal 2. That's the diagonal circles. So we can easily just shade this. The reason why I want to put them all together is because they have the same principle, so you don't miss it. And I'm glad you could join in to see like the mistakes that occurred when making the Q. And I'm also glad I actually make those mistakes, because those are the kind of mistakes you will most likely fall into when making these letters. And seeing that you see it here, I believe you'd learn that, oh, those are mistakes. So whenever you're trying to make it yourself out there or anywhere else or anytime else, you'd always remember that was a mistake. The original thing went like this. That was a mistake. The original thing went like this. So you can see what I said. This small thing here is always disregarded. Even in the big letter, like the uppercase letter, it was disregarded. Here again, it is disregarded. So this is the L, Q, R, and T, and I think we're finally down to the last set of episodes. Thank you for watching this episode, and catch you up in the next one.